Welcome everybody to Thirsty Thursdays, even though this is technically Friday, but we are recording here with Raven Creed and Debbie Keitel. Welcome, Debbie.
Hi.
Can you explain to us there why you have two screens? Just leave you do that explanation.
So I waited till the last minute because I was like, yeah, no problem, technology, love it. So I logged in at like 8:01, and then I couldn't get my camera working. So I was like, okay, I'll log into my phone and I'll see if I can do it through my phone. And then when I got onto my phone, the audio wasn't working. So currently I have two apps running, one for video and one for sound.
Classic. Well, at least it works anyway, right? So we can hear and see each other. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
And I said, as I said to Raven a while ago, I promised not to get as drunk as I did last week anyway. I think we got carried away last week. We're just like, this is fun, and we haven't seen each other, and nobody has seen anybody. Like, so,
Yeah.
our situation of or where are you located at the moment, or what the fuck's the story like?
So I am currently based in Dublin. So I was lucky enough to be in Dublin at the time, because otherwise I would have been stuck in either Kildare or Dublin. But luckily enough, I was here. But I have been in my house since March 15th, 16th.
Same as me, yeah.
Yeah.
Same, actually.
Just before St. Patrick's Day, I think everyone got the whole, time to go home.
Yeah.
It was the Friday before St. Patrick's Day when all the schools and colleges closed down, was when kind of Ireland started taking it like super seriously.
Yeah, for sure. I still think they could be taken a little bit more serious, but
Yeah. What do you think that they're doing?
Close them airports for a start, like, Jesus.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I know we're slowing it down by staying at home and all that kind of stuff, but if there's no regulations of people coming in and out of the airports, I was talking to somebody the other night, and as I was chatting to them, I just checked the incoming flights to Cork the next day. Like, there's not, but there's still 3 flights from London every day to come into Cork. I can imagine. I checked Dublin as well. There was Boston. Don't know New York. They can't be two ways because we're not allowed to go to America. So they're just bringing people here. In probably who have it, but I mean, it's okay for Irish to come home. Jesus, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think.
But what the fuck are people coming here for? What's the point? Nothing's fucking open. It's not like you're coming to Ireland on a cheap holiday.
Yeah. I suppose it's like the middle ground for people because it's the first stop on your way to America, because it's a checkpoint. So I imagine like going over, but I don't really know. I'm stubborn. I don't know. I paid for it, so I'm going. I don't know.
Yeah.
So like I among with a million other fucking people had to cancel like a holiday. Like I was supposed to be going over to Wales to visit an elderly sloth that I adopted, but now I can't. That's a genuine thing that I was gonna do. That was a genuine thing. But now we couldn't fucking do it. So like you just have to make, like, I know lots of people as well that they have to cancel like weddings, they have to cancel many other trips, they have to cancel confirmation. Yeah, exactly. Like the junior cert's cancelled, but who the fuck cares about that at the end of the day? But like so much shit is cancelled, and we all have to make these stupid sacrifices or whatever that no one fucking wants to do. But like,
without terribly going into private life now, are you able to work from home?
Well, the first week of all of this, I lost pretty much all my bookings for the rest of the year, my wrestling bookings. So that was kind of shitty. And then within the same week, I actually lost my job, got rehired, then had my hours reduced. Then there was talk of like it possibly like losing it again. And now, fortunately enough, I'm able to work from home, but only because of the government grant scheme. Otherwise, I would be like, like everybody else, I suppose. But it's been a bit of a roller coaster, but it's one of those things where it's evolving so fast that people are kind of just going with it now, as opposed to jumping to conclusions, which was like the first few weeks, everyone was like, oh, no, laid off. But now people are like, okay, there's ways of adapting,
Yeah.
People genuinely have no clue of what's actually going to happen. Like, I don't know what's going to happen next week. Like, they say that we're supposed to be out of quarantine, well, not out of quarantine, but they're supposed to reduce restrictions on like May 5th or something. I have no fucking. That's just a guess by everyone's fucking point. Like no one actually knows. Like
no, and what like it's just going to be a 3-week thing. So we're going to get to May 4th because it's the bank holiday Monday. There'll be another speech, and then it will be extended by another 3 weeks, and then to a point where they actually have to use the term lockdown.
yeah, have they not used the term lockdown technically?
No, they're very scared about using the term because when I hear lockdown, I hear like, you know, confinement, like stuck, you know, and that like makes people panic. So they're kind of dancing around the idea.
Yeah, you're right there. Yeah, they are dancing around it a bit too much. I mean, we're kind of as good, like, we might as well be in, like, the problem is there is the lockdown and all these rules are for the minority. The majority of us are sane people who are staying inside and barely going out for food because we want to overdone. But there is a majority of people, or a minority of people who don't give a fuck, and they will be idiots at it. What happens? You know what I mean? And it's not as.
Did you see that video that was in some big bridge in England of all the English people gathering together to do the 8 o'clock clap for like the NHS or something?
The most cultural history of anything. Let's all gather together to clap the NHS who are struggling because we're actually doing this way.
That's so stupid. Like, how did anyone think that was a good idea? The point of it was that like everyone in like, I think it was just like an English thing or UK thing, whatever, I'm sure. I think Ireland had one like last week or something. But like the point of it was to do it at home.
Yeah.
Like literally the people that you're clapping for, you're fucking over by gathering together and clapping. It's fucking hilarious. It's horrible, but it's fucking funny.
I know. Like, I think we're all trying to like adapt to the situation, and we still don't know if what we're doing is right or is 2 meters enough. I don't know. But even like when I'm walking my dog and I'm like going around the estate or whatever, there's like families calling to see their grandparents or whatever. And you know how you can do the whole through the window thing? But like these people have the window open and they're like stuck at the window. And it's the purpose. Like just open the door then.
You might as well go in at that point, like.
Yeah, that's it. Like for instance, I haven't seen my partner Justy since I think it was March 4th or March 5th. So like, and it'll be 2 months if the restrictions aren't kind of you know
eased.
Yeah. I'm in the same position then where I haven't seen my fella either, and it's a nice break. No, it's a joke. Like, it's shit. Like I fucking yeah, I'm praying for a fucking longer lockdown. No, I'm kidding. But like it does suck when you're in this like really shitty situation and all you want to do is just like, I don't know, fucking go to someone's house and watch a fucking WrestleMania together or something like that. You just can't meet up, and all you have is fucking Zoom or Skype or whatever the fuck to chat to. It's a shite situation, you know.
And it's like what did you do today? Oh, I looked at the 4 walls. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I've gotten to the point where I'm describing my workouts in detail because that's the only thing that's changing from a day-to-day basis.
Like I said, I was like somebody going on holidays there a while ago, getting ready to do this because it's different to what I was doing for the last couple of weeks. You know what I mean? So I was like, it was it's like being in a pub, except we're not. But you know, it's as close as we're going to get right now. But you were saying, obviously, everyone's bookings are gone and all fucking shows are cancelled. But like, looking from the outside in a little bit, like you were probably one of the most. You were working everywhere all the time. You were the most busiest wrestlers around. Bar would say Jordan and fucking Session Matt, who are kind of international at this point now. Anyway, do you know what I mean? But Irish based, like you're fucking everywhere, every weekend.
Yeah.
I suppose the body is healing anyway for one thing, but fuck it, it's an awful shame to lose kind of momentum action like that, because you know what I mean.
That's it. Like, I try and kind of look at the positives and everything, and like before this kind of isolation lockdown happened, like I was at a point where I was so stressed out. Like I was getting like sick all the time, and like my hair was falling out, and I was just constantly stressed all the time. And like some of the positives is like I could not remember the last time I actually cooked a meal. I just like adapted to living on like takeaways and packets of chicken and like, you know, the horrible gym diet where you don't have time, so you're just rushing. And like I was working 9 hours. I go straight to training. I wouldn't get home till like 11, and then my start would be 5 o'clock because I'd have to get into a gym before I went to work. And it was like that every single day for like months at a time. So like when the lockdown kind of happened, the first week I was like, I do not know what to do with all this time.
Yeah. Probably seemed like a month, and it was only a week.
Yeah, for sure. But now, like, there's definitely positives. Like, I haven't felt pain in my hips in so long. Like little things like that. Like, and just there's a lot of weight and pressure taken off, knowing that, like, you know, if I don't go to the gym, like, it's fine. You know.
Yeah.
You know. But it is tough as well because I do rely on shows to keep me motivated in the gym and stuff like that. And now that they're kind of not happening for a little while, I'm like, I'll just eat that. That's fine. Like, and
Just have a second Easter egg. Fuck it, why not?
yeah, and then every day is Easter. But there's definitely positives, but I'm very much the type of person that if I'm not in it and I'm not surrounded by it, I don't feel like it's real, if that makes sense. I feel like you have to be in it and you have to look like you have to love it this much, and you need to constantly be around it. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like you're a part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, absolutely. It's wrestling is consuming, and and it's it's an addiction, and it's like a vocation. I know what I was talking to lately. It was like when you're in it, when you get in so deep, so far, like I suppose we are. You know, the three of us in this conversation, we're at it 2 years. Obviously, I've fucking my own promotion now at this point. I don't do an awful lot of wrestling. You two are a lot younger than me. You do a lot of wrestling, a lot of different promotions, but you're at it so long, it becomes an obsession. Like, I mean, you go to sleep. Well, I go to sleep every night thinking about something to do with wrestling. Maybe like before, it was like, oh, I'd love to do that move. No, it's like I'd love to do this or that, but it's still the fucking same. It's still an obsession. You know?
Sure, it just becomes like an element of your life, and that's just that. It just is your life. It's like you wake up in the morning, you fucking, as you were saying, like fucking, you have no shows to look forward to, so it's kind of hard to go into the gym. But in a normal day-to-day basis, you just go to the gym, and that's just what you do because you're a wrestler, and that's what you do. You eat clean because that's what you're a wrestler, and that's what you do. You go to training because that's what you do. Like, oh shit.
Did we all get a gift from Zoom there, did we?
Yeah, I got a thing that said we're timed out. Are we still good?
No, I think we're okay. I think I
was on a roll there, but I completely lost my point. It's alright. No one.
Don't start ranting about the gym now like you did last week, and I had to edit it out.
But kind of just on that topic, a little bit of like training and stuff. Like you were just saying how like busy you are. Like you were kind of at the stage just before the lockdown where you were like wrestling fucking every weekend. You were training all the time. You were going to the gym and stuff like that. And I know that you're one of those people that like you need to always be doing something. So like, are you like with the gyms closed down and with no wrestling trainer and stuff like that? Are you still training at home, and like what are you doing? Like, or fucking, do you have any advice for anyone fucking watching of like how to train at home and stuff?
Yeah, well, I'm very like I need a goal. So like whether it's like, you know, whether you go to the gym and it's like, okay, I'm going to learn how to deadlift, or I'm going to learn how to squat, or I'm going to learn how to bench. I need like some sort of goal, not necessarily like a fitness challenge, but something. So when the lockdown happened, I was like, you know, I could really do with learning how to like be more flexible and, you know, kind of work out some niggles that I have in my hips and like work on agility and stuff. So I downloaded this splits training app to learn how to do the splits. And that only came about because I kept getting tagged in that splits challenge, and I hate not being able to do something. So I was like, I will come out of this being able to do a full tilt and a split.
Brilliant.
I've started doing yoga. I dedicate 20 minutes every single day to just stretching. And for people that are like, oh, I don't stretch, blah, blah, blah. My stretching, I burn 125 calories just in stretching.
Yeah.
So if that's not incentive. And then I always do kind of work on cardio. Like I hate treadmills. I hate running on the spot. I hate all that. So any sort of cardio, I try and go outside or use my back garden, and I do interval training, and I squat and squat and squat every single day. And yeah, but like if I'm not feeling like doing a programmed workout, I'll just go on YouTube, and I use this company called The Sweat, and they have so many 30-minute fat burning, calorie burning tutorials that are fun, and there's like dancing, there's like kickboxing, there's loads of them, so I'll just stick one of them on.
This thing, can I come back to that one? Because that's something I need to do big time, because I'm an old wooden ship. What kind of stretching do you do for 20 minutes, or where do you see that? Like, the only stretching I do is what I learned playing Gab 25 years ago. Did class in hammies and good to go.
Yeah.
For a run today, for the first time, I used to do road running when I lived in Dublin 12 years ago, and I went for a run, and a mile up the road I had to turn back because my back nearly seized up.
Oh really?
Yeah, so I was like, nah, fucking stretching, warm up, stretch up the road. So like, where'd you learn, or where do you get to, what do you use basically for stretching?
Well, I only realized recently, I started going to a chiropractor before all this happened, and I kept complaining about pains in my hips, and he would like do something to my neck, and he would be like, how does it feel now? And I'd be like, great. So like it just shows how the whole body is connected. And like my hips were sore because my knees were out, and you know, my hips were sore because part of my neck was, you know, jolted, like little things like that. So I work on my neck, my lower back, and my hamstrings, my quads, and my abductors. And like at first it's kind of sore and painful, and you are limited, but after I'm doing that like 3 weeks now, and like I'm like, oh wow, I couldn't get this low down in like it's kind of like you go for a split, but you put your hands kind of on the floor to balance yourself.
Yeah.
And every week it's getting lower and lower. So I mean, it just goes to show, like, you know, practice makes perfect. So like I've been doing that 3 weeks solid now, and I can already feel a difference.
I'm going to interject a tiny bit with that one, because like I've been sort of actually doing the same thing as you, funny enough, like because my flexibility has been shite. Like recovery and stuff like that wasn't that good. So I've started doing yoga as well, and I'm literally just kind of what you're doing. I'm going on YouTube and looking up 20-minute yoga classes, 15-minute yoga classes, and I'm just fucking going for it. And I realized, like, I knew I was kind of like, oh, I'm a little bit unflexible, whatever, maybe this will help me a bit. But I realized just how unflexible I was. So like it helps, like, fucking just, sorry, I'm saying the word fuck a lot.
Toss.
Fucking shitting fuck. But like in this time of kind of like, I don't have a gym anymore, huh?
That on a t-shirt. Fucking.
No, fucking shit fuck. But in the time where I don't have a squat rack and I don't have all the plates that I need to use for like my typical workout, it is kind of nice and a little bit humbling to do a side of fitness that I'm shite at.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and like I'm nowhere near doing the splits, and I know by the end of this pandemic, I'm probably not going to be as close as you are to the splits, or fucking like whatever. But if I get an extra 2 centimeters, that's fucking class. I remember.
I think we should challenge each other, really and truly. I think this rivalry should continue. We'll see if you can do the splits by the end of June.
Gee, I don't want to be in a fitness competition with Debbie Keitel. like the only thing I could do is like, I could probably do like a heavier bicep curl, and that's fucking it.
No, I don't know. Maybe you'll have to challenge each other, keep the rivalry going. Who knows? But you've only wrestled each other a million times in Cork, anyway. But,
fucking Christ on a stick, yeah.
One of the reasons,
though, is that like, because we couldn't really talk about it because the rivalry was like so big here, and we actually were a tag in Fierce Females in Scotland, but we couldn't actually talk about it because I think one thing me and Raven have been really good at is keeping, you know, the story alive online.
Up until now.
yeah. Well, hey, come here. At this stage, no, like, but the world is fucked anyway. But like,
Yeah, who
we
cares?
wrestled each other so many times in CCW. We wrestled each other in TTs numerous times. And maybe PWU, or there was definitely a Fight Factory. There was definitely a third promotion where it was like, right, and just in Ireland, we were like going, you're actually just fighting each other all over the country.
I think we wrestled in PW, even if it was in like a tag match or something like that.
Yeah.
I know that we were in the same match.
Yeah, it was like a 6-man or something like that.
Oh, was that a weird 8-man tag match? Remember, it was like the only part of it I remember was Katie and Phil were on the same team, and
my God.
yeah, and someone in the ring was like, "Oh, whatever, Mr. Small Package," and Katie was like, "It's perfectly adequate." I remember absolutely fucking corpsing on the side of the ring.
Yeah. It was me, Katie, Madison Miles, and Phil versus you, Rocky, Valkyrie, and Casey Owens.
Yeah, that was fucking up.
Wow.
That is so random.
That is a pretty random mix.
You put your entire roster in one match.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking literally, yeah.
Like, there's not a negative shit this week about Northern Ireland wrestling. I'm not going into that. None of my business.
Yes. Oh no, let's get into it. Fuck it.
I heard Matt Schuyler had a great day.
Oh yeah, that's all that fucking matters.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
I had a lovely day out.
He'll work anyway. He'll work anyway. That's all. But well, you both worked in PW. I haven't. I never worked in PW. I've worked in Titanic a couple of times. But like PW, like CCW, right? It had a lot of shocking shit, like, but a lot of good stuff too. And your year-long rivalry was a shining light of how things could be done right, even in a shit promotion like CCW. I mean,
But the thing is that, like, I always fucking say this, that, like, the reason why me and Debbie had a year-long rivalry wasn't because of, like, past booking or, like, long-term anything. It was literally because I was from Cork, and, like, he just booked Debbie because Justy was also coming down, and he thought that it was fucking easy, and he was like, oh yeah, grand, we'll just fucking do that, and I don't have to fucking think about it. But then we made it into, like, actually doing some good shit.
Ye made it very, very enjoyable, very watchable. The matches were all very different. There was a last woman standing match. There was a fucking ladder match. You flaked me with a kendo stick, actually, Debbie, in that match. I think.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Well, that's it. What?
Remember she flaked me with a kendo stick, myself and Gunter. So she chased us over. She really hard up though, like that stings. But that was class to see that. But I mean, just what I mean is, like, PW, both of you worked at PW. There was some good stuff up there, like just he always talked about how class it was, bar the politics side of shit.
Yeah.
Well, like, I do think the PW, like, I always have a good time up in PW, but I do think I was listening to Low Blows there, and I think Phil was talking about it, saying that there was a very positive, nice atmosphere, and then there was a very obvious split. And then fucking each promotion had half a roster. And then that really kind of fucked the scene a bit, like, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I wasn't there, so I don't want to fucking comment on anything, like, but
yeah. I mean, I worked for, it was, what was it called before?
Uprising?
Yeah. I worked for Uprising
You were the first match in Uprising, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. It was me and Luther Valentine versus Alyssa Hamilton and Russell Dempster. So random.
Yeah.
I had my first match there, and when you kind of first start out, you feel like you have this loyalty, you know, that kind of when you know any better, and you're so scared, and you know, like, even with my age, you would think I would know better, but at the same time, you're trying to do everything right, so you don't say anything.
Yeah.
And then after a couple of shows, it was just a horrible atmosphere. And when I walked in the door, I felt like I like shouldn't be there, if that makes sense. And
that you're like an outsider or something, or?
Yeah. And I started to get really paranoid, and then overthinking everything, and just anxiety out the door. And I was just, I need to, like, step away from this and, like, you know, just not wrestle up north for a while. So I kind of just stopped wrestling there, and then I would go to the PWU shows just to support Justy, and because they were so much fun, and, like, there was always someone driving up that had a seat, And like the amount of people that I met up there, like, and mingled with and networked with, like I met Flash Morgan Webster at a PW show, like we chatted about that when I was over at WWE for training weeks and stuff like that. And like I met Joseph Connors up there. Like there's loads of people that we've all like been fortunate enough to meet up there that's actually helped us, when we're over in the UK. So I kind of set out of a couple of shows, and like the promoter constantly asked me, did I want to work them? And I just was like, I just don't want to get into anything. So when I feel like, there's not going to be an issue, that's when I'll start working for you. So after a while, I was just like, I'm being loyal to someone that like does not give a flying beep about
I let it in. Fuck. I've said it about 87 fucking times.
I let it in. Raven saying fuck.
Please do. So I just started working with PW then, and I had a couple of matches. And when I joined, it was kind of when they were on the way out and things were just getting very difficult and stuff like that. But there was like some of those shows were just absolutely hilarious, and like front row curtain shows, like everyone in the back was always behind the curtain to watch the shows. But it's just unfortunate when your focus becomes a rivalry as opposed to the product, and that's just the biggest kind of downfall with Northern Irish wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one place I wanted to work PW. It just looked so much fun. Like I didn't know about the value. You know about the, as in this. You'd hear about the rivalry and the shite going on, but it was just when you see Taggy Mac tag team, or I think that was the right. Like that, like I want to be somewhere that fucking does that, because we were wallowing, bumping on a concrete fucking ring down in Cork, going, this is horrible. So anywhere would it, you know what I mean? It was just like, it looked so much fucking fun, you know. But wasn't to be.
You're on about the rivalry there a second ago, and like it's like the rivalry still exists now with like Respect versus Titanic, although you can kind of see a fucking clear winner at this stage. But like fucking when you listen to anyone from like the early days of Irish wrestling, like
OTT will be the winner in Northern Ireland.
OTT is just the winner of everything, to be fucking honest with you, lad.
But they do, they're drawing some fucking crowds up there, like, in fairness.
Like the last show, I think it was 600 or 700 they had in there, and like your Belfast audience is insane, because you have diehard fans, you have casual fans, you have people there just like for a Sunday kind of day out and stuff like that. So there's a great mix, which like it helps us kind of put more entertainment kind of a spin on things, which is always fun. But the atmosphere is just incredible. Like on what day could you walk out in the Europa and have 700 people on the floor? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Come here, you got into wrestling late enough. I got into wrestling late enough. But like, without
you a backhanded fucking here, you're old lad.
Shut up, you Raven. you youngling. But like, do you know, I just want to make. You said there about you should have known better because you're a bit older and wiser. But did you find in wrestling, like I found, age is secondary, to be honest with you, when it comes to years in the business. Or I think you have a bit more cop on the way you behave. If you're a young punk going around the place, like you probably behave a lot more respectful, because we have.
All right, less of it.
Not you in particular. I'm not talking about you in particular. Not this time anyway. But like, you do find yourself, like, I found just a little bit, acting your age a little bit, but like also you have to respect the people that are in the business a lot longer than you, even though they're way fucking younger than you. Do you know what I mean? Same, even though like what you said in Uprising, you should know better for your age, but like.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's difficult. Like sometimes I could be, in a training class and I could feel like I'm 80 years of age, just looking around the room, and just, sometimes I'd feel like, out of my comfort zone, in the sense that like, when I go to training, I'm thinking about having to get up early, go do my full-time job, pay bills, pay rent, all these adult problems that cross your mind. And like you go to training for 2 hours, and it's your 2 hours where you don't have to think about it. But I suppose to see how free everyone else was, you know, I sometimes felt like, oh my God, there's absolutely no one here I can relate to, because everyone's so young and fortunate to be living in this city, and like, you know, to be living at home and have a family and stuff like that. So like, I'd go home and I'd have to go back to like that mentality of like, right, it's back to work now. So, you know, so I used to always kind of feel like, oh, I don't really have anyone that I can kind of relate to. But then like with training with like the likes of Katie and Phil and like Justy obviously, and then like on the other like in the other school, like I trained very closely with Be Cool and Sammy D and like people more my age, which made me feel a lot more comfortable. But I don't know about you, like when I first started, like, I mean, tell a 15-year-old to do a backflip or a front flip or whatever, and they're like, yeah, no problem. Tell a 27-year-old that they have to flip and like not land on their head, and all you're thinking about is don't land on your head. You're going to land on your head. Like the fear is real when you're older, but when you're a kid, you're fearless.
Sure
So
is.
like there are times when I'm doing certain things that I'm like, I really feel so old right now. But then it is a great sense of community that like we're all here for the one thing, and that's the love of wrestling, and here to learn and progress and stuff like that. Like, so there's great motivation as well.
Yeah. What's your background in relation to from like I did a lot of soccer and hurling for fucking donkey's years, and I didn't really know about wrestling schools and whatnot, but we're like, and that's one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on, because a lot of the Phoenix fans that will be watching this, right, they kind of they love to know about the person behind the person kind of thing. So like, what were you doing before wrestling, like, and why? This is probably the only interview question I'll do.
That's fine.
I just want to have a chat, but like, what did you do before wrestling? How did you kind of get into it, like?
Well, I think I started wrestling. No, I started watching wrestling. I think it was, I want to say like 97, 98.
I was
And
born in 98. Just
oh
to...
my God.
Okay, I was finished school and had a car. You know?
Oh my God.
Okay,
And
I it was.
Sorry.
I remember, I can't even remember what it was, to be honest, because we'd randomly get lucky with cable. Like something would happen and these new channels would appear for like 2 weeks. And I'd be like, oh, wait, what's this? And then it'd be a thing where we couldn't change the channel in case we lost the channel.
Oh yes.
It was just a loop of like there'd be like QVC stuff on during the day, but then at nighttime there'd be music videos, and then there'd be wrestling and like all this random stuff. And then eventually, like, we were extremely poor growing up. Like, I grew up in the flats, and we didn't really have a lot, so we just had your basic Irish kind of channels and stuff like that. But then I remember getting Sky, and we had Sky One, and I think it was Saturday Main Event or something like that used to be on, or there used to be like a recap of Raw.
That's right, yeah.
We just started watching that. But what my dad would do is my dad would go over to the UK and he'd come back with all these wrestling tapes, and just to shut us up, he'd be like, oh, wrestling's on, and he'd put the tape on. So like 1 week I'm watching like China, like bear hugging some like blonde, and then the next week I'm watching like Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid, as if it's like the continuation like episode. Like, so I had no idea what I was watching, I just knew I loved it.
That's really weird. I watched Bret Hart versus 1-2-3 Kid 2 days ago.
Oh, go away.
Bret was a heel and he was wrestling exactly the same, but he was just slamming people a lot harder. And not selling the same. It was fucking amazing to watch. I didn't pick up on that at the time, like whenever it was on. The 1-2-3 was a phase. But go on, sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, that's actually one of my favorite matches.
Yeah.
But then I just started kind of watching it week by week, and then obviously like my father would bring back like these random like suck it t-shirts. Like, imagine wearing that at like, you know, not like you have a problem. But and then like kind of around the John Cena ruthless aggression period is kind of when I kind of phased out, and like I was going into secondary school then, and like exams became very important and stuff like that. And then that's when I kind of got into sports. So I was playing Gaelic and hockey, whilst doing Kung Fu, Muay Thai. Like, I was one of those kids where it's like, oh, what are you going to do this weekend? And I pull out a big timetable of all the classes I have to attend. So I was always kind of involved in like the arts and sports, and then I went to college and I discovered alcohol. That all went out the window. Alcohol and boys.
Terrible.
And then
It's terrible.
Oh, I can't relate. I can't relate at all.
You have a
What
glass
boys
like
are, don't know
Thor.
what
I
alcohol
was
is.
waiting to say it. You have a glass like Thor had in fucking Ragnarok. Just this big.
It's from Munich.
But what was I going to say? Yeah, and then around 24, I got into powerlifting and competed in a couple of national championships. And I'm actually a gold medalist for the best bench in the country.
Go away.
Yeah.
What did you bench, and like
Oh,
what
look
weight
at
were you? Like what
Look
category
at
were
it.
you?
Watch your bench. Watch your bench. How much? She's immediately going. Well,
No, because I know that I can't beat the answers. Now I have something to work toward.
At the time, I was also competing for or preparing for a bodybuilding competition. So I was at a very, like, I suppose, very lightweight. I was 49 kg, which was like very, very small. And I managed to bench 55. But my category was like barely anyone in it because there was nobody like that was that small.
Yeah.
But, I'll still take the gold medal.
Yeah, well done. Yeah,
49 kilos is like really small. I'm like 15 kilos above that. Like I can't imagine like being at 49 kilos. Like I know preparing for bodybuilding competition, I've never done it obviously, but I know preparing for it is fucking torturous.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm showing my age here now. What? I don't know. Stone? What's that in stones?
It's like 110 pounds.
Again?
It's like it'd be like 7.5, 8 stone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But and then during that time I was in college doing a master's in production and direction. So I've always been involved in like film and TV. And then, you know, awful breakup, all that kind of shit. And I was like, I'm just gonna leave. So I just applied for a New York visa and I just got the hell out of the country. And I didn't know where I was going to live, didn't have a job. I just went over there and I had a 3-week Airbnb and I was just going to kind of play it by ear. And I landed on my feet pretty much straight away when I applied for just an ad on Craigslist, and it was so random. Like the jobs I applied for were just like, just for the sake of getting like a film credit, were just ridiculous. Eventually then I landed a job as a producer's assistant, and my first week was Fashion Week in New York, which was the most like hectic thing I've ever been landed in. And I think 2 or 3 days into New York Fashion Week, our TV host didn't show up, and I'm on the runway and I'm trying to get Pete Wentz to do an interview. Pete Wentz from Fall Out Boy, and I'm standing there and my boss puts the microphone in my hand, pushes me on top of him, says action, and like it's awful. I need to find this somewhere, but it's just me and I look so Irish. I have red hair, I'm wearing a green coat, and I'm like do you like clothes?
Have you got a pennies over here as well?
And he was so nice. Like he knew I was so nervous. And then afterwards I was like, oh, thank you. And then he just walked away and I was like having a panic attack, an inner panic attack.
Which one? Are you a secret emo? Are you a fan of like Pete Wentz?
Yeah, I loved Fall Out Boy.
Which one is that? Do they do the song Like a Phoenix?
Yeah, actually.
A fucking segue. What a segue. That's not even planned. What a segue. That's the theme of our very first show. Oh, it's brilliant. It's brilliant the way it's just beautiful. It just pans out. Sorry, go on. I got out of it.
But then pretty much after that, then my boss was like, I actually think I really want to push you in front of the camera more. And then, yeah, then I just became a broadcast journalist, but I was still doing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff as well. And then unfortunately my mom got sick. It was around the time that I was renewing my visa anyway. So I came home, and when I came home, Trump went in.
Great fucking timing.
Yeah. So I was I was just at a, like, I was around 26, 27, and I was like, am I always going to be that girl that just has a random job, or like that weird aunt that like, oh, 1 minute she's a powerlifter, the next she's an actress. Like, it's just like, am I always going to be so random? So I was like, I was in an office job and I looked out the window and nothing says West of Ireland like a cow just walking past your office. So I was like, right, this has got to go. So
See you later, Galway.
yeah, I started like researching wrestling schools because I got into it when I was living in New York. And
did you train in New York or just kind of got back into watching wrestling?
So Mikey Whipwreck had a school in, I think it was, I can't remember where it was, somewhere in Brooklyn, and he was doing a tryout day, and I went down and I so intimidated, and I didn't even like, I made it to the door, I saw the queue and I waited for the queue to go down and then for the door to close, and I was just like, ugh. And then he was like, out or in, and I was like, oh. That's when the whole like the fear of being an adult kicks in, where it's like, no, I'm just gonna break my leg and then I'll never do it again. So I was just like, I'll leave it here. Yeah, like I was able to watch from afar, but and then I came home, and then, you know, it was really annoying because I could no longer watch wrestling at an appropriate time. Because I was so used to it being on at like 8 o'clock over there. So I just started kind of watching it again. I got the network, and then I started researching schools, and yeah, like Fight Factory was the first one to come up. I couldn't even find Main Stage when I was looking up wrestling schools, and I just I messaged the Facebook group for Fight Factory, and I was like, I'll just do it. And like, it was about an hour writing out a draft, and I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
And then I just sent it, and like within like, I was like, oh, they probably won't write back, it's fine. And then like 2 seconds later, bing, I was like, no, I have to go now. And
do you remember your first training session?
Yeah, oh my god. So I got a bus to Dublin the night before, and I stayed with my brother who lived in Dublin. And
oh shit, you were still commuting from Galway?
Oh yeah.
At that stage, wow. Go on.
My first 6 months of training were 6 or 7 months of training were all commute. And when my first day then, I was in Dublin, and then I asked my brother and his friends to drive me to Bray because they were actually going to do the Greystones walk anyway. So they said they'd drop me off. So we pulled up, and there's this like big like burly man like lifting up the shutter and like throwing things in, and I'm like, well, this is obviously closed, this is not a wrestling school. So back in there, and then all I hear is hey, and my brother's like, someone's calling you. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, are you here for the wrestling? And I was like, yeah, it was Phil.
I was wondering who this big burly man was going to be. Yeah,
I was like, he was like, yeah, we'll be set up and ready to go now in like 10 minutes. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then I got back in the car, and I was like, yeah, I think they're closed. I don't know. My brother was like, get out. And I was like, no. And then he just drove off. So I went in, and it was like me and all these kids, and I was like, right, I have made a huge mistake. I am too old for this. Where are the adults? And then Lee came in, and then Darren Carney was there, and Don Tuck was there, and I thought Don Tuck was a trainer, which is hilarious. Because
sorry, I shouldn't have laughed at that.
No, he was taking the roles, so I was like, oh, he's a trainer.
He does capture a room, Don Tuck.
He does.
He has this aura. He does capture a room, to be fair.
Yeah. So, you know, I expected someone to be like, this is how you do a roll. So the circle, we were running a circle, left hand down, right hand down, and then we got into a line, and like this is the O'Brien day, so it was like wet, there was like blue mats on the floor, and it was just very cold and damp. So I was like, what is this? And, so like, we're in the front, like I didn't even realize that I'm in like a front row, and they're like, right, roll. And I'm like, what? And I just feel someone like push me forward into a roll, and feels like, yeah, less like flipping and more rolling. And I was like, I don't even know what I did. And then it was like, right, back rolls. And I expected someone to like pull me aside and be like, listen, this is how you do it. But it was very much like, just get in and do it.
Yeah.
And you would think like, you know, being a kid rolling, you'd be like, this is so easy. And it's like, no, why is this hurting me so much? And then it came to cartwheels and I was like, step aside.
Yeah, I handle this.
And then we moved on to some chain, and I was partnered with LJ Cleary, and Phil was like, you stay with her for the session. And I was like, oh great, it'd be great to like work with someone experienced. But then I got really conscious that I was taking a session away from him, because like he went there to train as well, but he was like super helpful and really, really nice. And then we moved on to like bumping, and I just remember my first bump. Oh my god, because there wasn't a ring at this point. So we were just bumping on the blue mats. So Phil pulled out the crash mat and he was like, have you ever bumped before? I was like, this is my first day in a wrestling school. What do you like? No.
I don't go around bumping on concrete on a night.
And he was like, so it's just like this. And he did it. And I was like, oh, it's just like this, is it? And we get back in a queue then, and everyone's just snap bumping on these like really thin blue mats. And then it comes to me and it's like, I just go for it, and it's like it was like a ghost left my like body. Was like looking down at me. I was like, oh my god. And he was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, that wasn't great, now I'm not gonna lie.
He's so fucking nice to you. That's probably the nicest way that he could have possibly said it.
He was like, don't do that again. But you know, but and then towards the end of it, like I got chatting, and I remember like Darren Kearney actually thought like that I was like this vet wrestler that like came back to train for a session just because I was like old, and that only came out like months later. But
young people don't know, you see, they don't know outside of,
yeah,
they just think everybody older is like
yeah. And I remember the end of the session was we were doing pins, all these different pins, and the end of the session was the victory roll. And like Phil was like, so does anyone want to try it? And before he even said it, my hand was up and I was like, what are you
did you know what the victory roll was, or did you know what you were like agreeing to do?
Lee hooked up onto his shoulders and like went through, and I was like, oh, that looks so cool. And then I put my hand up and I was like, what are you doing? And then he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. So I hopped up on Lee's shoulders and did it, and he was like, wow. And I was like, yes. And everyone tried it then, and then I left on such a high. And like after that, then I would travel 8 hours every single Sunday for 7 months. And then sometimes I'd call work and I'd be like, oh, you know, I can't come in today, I'm sick. And then I'd go do a random training session on a Wednesday in the Five Factory. So like it was started every Sunday, then it was like every Wednesday and Sunday, then it was every Saturday and Sunday, and then eventually I was like, I just need to move. So I just moved up, and then, you know, started wrestling.
Brilliant. That's a class story. That's fucking a lot of commitments. Some people won't go 15 minutes these days, like, do you know what I mean? But Jesus, fair play to you. Fair play to you.
Yeah. Just before we get back going, I just went to the bathroom, and as I was going, I passed my sitting room. All the lights in my house are out. There's no one here, but on my TV is a sink filled with blood on pause. And I have no idea what the fuck is happening or what that means. So I'm a little bit terrified. No one's in my house anymore.
Oh my gosh.
Good. Yeah, this is the recording, so again, that's a great soundbite. Yeah. I'd be surprised
something that I got murdered. Like,
I'd be surprised if Debbie said that, but like you saying it, I'm like, yeah, of course there's a there's a sink full of blood on pause. I mean, I'd be disappointed if there wasn't.
Yeah.
But literally, no light is on in my house, and I don't think there's anyone here because my brother left, and I think I heard someone else leave, but I actually don't know. So.
All right.
Oh my god.
So this is fun. Anyway,
let's get back to part 2. Anyway, so going on from there then, I think the first time we saw you, Debbie, was in a promo, if I do believe, from a car point of view. We saw you doing a promo where you were a journalist or doing some. I remember I think you were wearing a beret. But you were doing some journalist thing. You were doing some journalist gimmick or something to do with, you were trying an interview or somebody was interviewing. I can't really remember the ins and outs of it. But I think it was for a Fight Factory show. It was really, really, it was years ago. But Luke saw it, Marion, sorry. He's the only one I've always say immediately, Luke. Marion Armstrong.
And Marion's a stupid name. Fuck that.
But he has his Twitter as Marion Armstrong, Luke Barry.
Yeah.
But I think he got hold of the promo and sent it into the group that we would have had with CCW, which would have been Lee, myself, Ricky Combat, and Luke. And it was like, oh my God, look at this. As in, she's fucking amazing. We haven't even a wrestling match. Look at the quality of this promo. Do you know what I mean? Because it was around the time that things were turning from doing a promo in front of your earning board, like, hi, wrestling, Finbar O'Callaghan next week, and you know, whoa, when I get hold of him and the camera's lopsided, do you know what I mean? The standard of promos was just turning, and yours was fucking outstanding. And Luke was like, get her, Lee, we have to get her. Like your
I was just very confident really that I always kind of gave myself a timeline. So I was like, okay, I may not have, you know, all the wrestling skills, but I know I can talk and I know I can act and I know I can like present. So, you know, why don't I put that out there, you know, while I'm still kind of brushing up on everything else. And I did that. I think that promo was for Uprising. And it was
if I can find that promo, I'm going to insert it in this.
You won't find it because I had it deleted.
Oh, why'd you have it deleted?
Because I got very conscious. I don't know like about you guys, but whenever I put content out, there's a part of me that's really excited about putting it out, and then immediately afterwards, I get filled with anxiety.
Oh yeah, definitely. Every single thing I've ever put out, I've felt the exact same.
You've seen some of the stuff we've put out, right?
Yeah. Well, as the years go on, the promos that were really good when they first came out are probably looked at as, you know, not as good anymore, you know. And it was just after the tryout, and I was very conscious of all the stuff that was out there. Because one thing they said is that if it's online forever.
It's online, yeah.
So I was very conscious about stuff, and it's not that I like, this is the first webcast podcast that I've done in, I can't remember, since the tryout, because after the tryout, all the footage and promos and stuff that were put up when I did an interview were from 2017, where I wasn't doing that gimmick, I wasn't that person. And, you know, it was just not what I was doing. So it was putting out something that I wasn't anymore. So I just got really frustrated. It's like, I've worked really hard to get where I am, and you're putting something out there that was like, you know, like really, really old or whatever. So I just like contacted the people that, or all the platforms that had the footage, and I asked them, you know, would you just unlist them or mute them? Because I was just really fed up of like working really hard on a character that just wasn't getting promoted. Like, if I ever see a picture of me in that green gear again, I swear.
You actually text me about some CCW footage. I remember that, yeah, and said some of that taken down. And unfortunately, at that point, Lee had taken me off administration rights.
Yeah, and it's not about anyone else. It's about myself, and you know, conscious. I've always been very conscious of what people think of me, and it's a horrible, horrible trait to have. I don't recommend it. But I don't like knowing that there's people in the background watching stuff that I've done, in a negative sense.
Yeah, no, I get you.
I'm sure you've been in the back and someone's pulled up a promo or a match and they're like, have you seen the state of this? Yeah. And it's like 20 people around a phone just taking the piss, and it's just like, I hate that. So if I think I've done anything that might, you know, bring a crowd around a phone, I want it like gone. That's like, anytime I go away abroad for shows, there's like, oh, have you seen this and have you seen that? And I hate it. I just don't want anything to do with that because, you know, we
It's
were
usually
all
like new people as well that people are kind of making fun of, and it's like someone's first or second promo. Like, what do you expect? Like,
exactly. And isn't it great that they're doing it? Like, how I know so many wrestlers that have been doing this for like years and years, and they never do promos purely because they can't. So I think it's great that like you're putting yourself out there, because even these videos that I'm doing now, I want to stay relevant, and I want to, you know, continue my character and stuff like that online. But like every week someone has something to say about it, or has a negative comment, or like even I did the no rush challenge there, me and Raven did,
saw that, yeah.
and like I'm sure it wasn't just me that was pulled out of it, but like something that's fun and like vulnerable, and like, you know, for people to like spin it and turn it into something like that, like it wasn't anything to do about looks, it was just fun, you know.
yeah.
But for some people, like they couldn't help themselves but pull out like, here's the most obvious contrast of, you know, no makeup to makeup, and it just turned into this thing. And like pastor
Saying
like,
that there was people like debating whether you looked better with or without makeup, and it's like, it's none of your fucking business, first of all, and that's not the point of the challenge.
for sure. And like it wasn't even a thing like, oh, someone said I was unattractive. Like you can like think that, that's fine, but it was the fact that they weren't talking about how great the challenge was. They were talking about how shit I looked with no makeup and how nice I looked with pounds of it on. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't even, what they were saying wasn't even relevant. And then it just turned into like, there was memes, screenshots, and I was just like, how sad that like something that was supposed to like break up the monotony of like sitting at home staring at a wall, like, oh, do you want to do this? Sure. And like a group of people come together to create some content, and like people are just have to find something to pull it apart, you know. So like after that, I just kind of, at first, like when I saw the comments, like one thing that's always stuck with me is Pastor Will Ever.
Friend of the show.
He said to me, he was like, you're going to have to put up with so much shit, and people are going to hate you for absolutely no reason. He said, but if I were you with your gimmick, I would never ever let anyone know that they've upset you or hurt you. He was like, if someone says something bad about you, if someone calls you a slut, you say, yes, I am. And like, if someone body shames you, you own it. Like you challenge them. You never do the cry for help or the, how could someone say something so horrible, blah blah blah. He was like, you always challenge it. And he was like, I try and pass this information on to any women that I know in the business, because it'll make their character stronger and it'll build thicker skin. So when all the kind of pictures of me looking from one to the other or whatever, I was like, oh my god, I'm a dish. Like I was just running with it. But then when I woke up the next morning, I just felt really vulnerable, and I went on Twitter, and it was just like scrolling, and I was like, oh, like I was just kind of over it. And then I didn't want to put out that video I put out recently, because
Which video?
the the one of me in a polka dot top.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I wasn't going to put that out because I just felt like I was putting myself out there to like be destroyed, but at the end of the day, like I shouldn't let anyone else.
I think the good thing and the bad thing about what we do, we put ourselves out there to be judged.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. And like, you can't legislate for absolute cunts. Every walk of life. They're wrestling fans, they're soccer fans, they're just people in general are the best in the world. But portion of people, doesn't matter, they're just bad. And they will look at people's vulnerabilities and weaknesses and just ways to get themselves over and make memes, and do you know what I mean? And like, they don't give a shit about the people. Like, they don't care about the person, whether they're praising them or whether they're giving them shit. Like, they're just trying to get themselves over or get themselves attention, negative or positively. They don't care. Like, and that's the thing. But like, you're brave enough to be able to constantly put content out, even on the back of that negative shit that was on that challenge. And that challenge, by the way, was fucking amazing. I saw that. I was like,
I wanted to say this. Like,
go on.
Raven, you look amazing. Your body looks amazing.
Oh, thanks. I've been doing nothing besides working out, baking, and eating, so my arms look fucking jacked.
Like, you know, when you did the challenge, you had the mixable in front of you, and that was hilarious, by the way. But then when you change into your gear, the first thing I went was, oh my god, look at her abs, like straight away.
Thanks. Don't get hopeful for the first show back. I'm not gonna have that.
It'll be wrestling with. We should call it wrestling with t-shirts or something. Do you know what I mean? By my words, I'm not taking off the fucking t-shirts.
I'm gonna come back and I'm just gonna wear that Spider-Man apron during all my matches from now on.
Yeah. But you're right about like online thing. Stuff can be so fucking good. It can be so. Sometimes it can be so uplifting, but then other times it can be crushing, just because you do take criticism. Even when people judge you, or you do, it's only human to take it to heart sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even like small things make a big thing, make a big difference in your mindset. Like I kind of have a thing where I don't care too much about what people think of me, but like still at the end of the day, you're human.
Yeah.
So like just a tiny example was, do you remember that OTT they did a live stream of like best Tivoli matches or something like that?
Yeah.
I was watching all them. I thought it was class, and I was watching it live, and I was looking at the chat. And on the second day, one of my matches came up on it, and just like literally everyone, like people were saying like nice things, like, oh, I can't wait for this, the pop, whatever the fuck. But then one person went, oh, this is a bad match, and I just got like just something as tiny as that, and I was just like, oh no, and I felt bad about myself. But then I realized like, oh wait, that's one person, and that's one person's opinion.
Yeah.
And like they're a dickhead for fucking saying that, you know. But like they're allowed to have their opinion. They're allowed to not like my match. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But like, it's just like even tiny little things like that, they get in fucking people's heads. So like, I don't get a lot of like fucking hate or like weird messages or something like that. Like I know a lot of women wrestlers. I would say that you would probably get a lot of weird messages, which like. That must be weird mentally. Like fucking have like strangers message you asking for like to buy your socks or something like that. Like that just must be weird.
Yeah.
Pictures of your feet, you know?
Yeah. It's like they give you the whole like, I'm such a big fan, so that you respond, and then you respond, and then the next thing is an unsolicited pic or a video or
of their elbow.
Or I had a conversation with someone that wanted to buy my gear, and I was like, yeah, that's great, yeah, no problem. And then he was like, and have you got any, so I'll take that set and that set. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much, because at the time I was donating everything to Five Factory. And he was like, I'll take this, this, and this. And I was like, okay. And he was like, and have you got any old t-shirts? And you know, have you got any maybe like,
oh no, this is getting creepy.
And then, you know, actually, to be honest, would you just sell me like loads of pictures of your feet and I will just give you the same amount of money? And I was like, blocked, goodbye, see you later.
Starts off nice to fucking pull you in.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, if it's not a fan, it's a wrestler who thinks he's a big tough guy who can slide into your DMs, you know what I mean? So like, if it's not a fan, like, you'll just have that with everyone, like, and now everyone's petrified that I'm going to go into my DMs.
You should sell him pictures of Justy's feet. That was, I think he said that before. That's what you should do.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I would buy pictures of Justy's feet. That's a joke. I wouldn't buy pictures of Justy's feet.
He does have very attractive ankles, I must say. You know, I will say that.
Oh my god, don't tell me I get a big head.
Yeah. Good week for wrestling, like, really and truly it has. Not only, obviously, like, wrestling is not, it's not the only industry that's been affected. Obviously, Jesus Christ, every industry's been affected by this shit. Like, but 40% of all workers pretty much gone from WWE.
Yeah, that's mental.
That's fucking, that's horrible that a landlord wouldn't play ball or would like not even try and fucking, that's just a horrible situation, like. You know, it really
with
is.
OTT or the landlord thing?
But the landlord, whatever, like, people are losing their jobs all over the world. People in worse, and let's be honest, people in worse situations than wrestlers with WWE contracts. But like from a local point of view, that was mad.
Yeah.
Listening to, and even Joe tweeted the what the landlord said to him. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't out there with stuff to a locker. Like, Jesus fucking Christ! Like,
that was a bit of a fucking disgrace. Yeah, that was a little bit like.
And he should have named him, or not named him shame, but he was dead right to out him. Like,
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it is it's a massive pity.
Like I just think it's so unfortunate. Like, I think everyone is just trying to stay positive, and you know, everyone's just thinking about getting back training and stuff like that. And like, you know, we're all in that OTT group and the School Irish Wrestling group, and we're just kind of, you know, keeping each other motivated and stuff like that. And then for that to happen, I think today was just, everyone was just like, today is done. Like, today is over. Like the last 2 days, I've seen friends lose their jobs on Twitter. I've seen my friends in like in Ireland lose their jobs. I've seen families lose their homes, and it's just, this week has been so negative. But and like today especially, like I spent the day trying to find like positive stuff, but I think after that post about the school, I was just like, today is over.
It's kind of like I'm trying to find something positive every day, and I'm trying to somehow look at the bright side and somehow find something. But it almost seems like every single day it's fucking like there's something new. Like today with the fucking school, yesterday with all the WWE people getting fired, like the day before with the fucking, I don't know, probably the respect thing. Like everything is fucking happening right now, and like it's just really fucking hard to find a positive in it.
Yeah,
but
like,
like,
just fuck off so we can start wrestling again.
Let's do that.
Consensus. Like, will it ever just go away and fucking start even like training and back bumping and fucking, like, we're in a position down in Cork where I'm lucky enough that I was able to come to an agreement with my landlord for our school. So we're about to take out our lease is nearly, we're there 2 years already, would you believe? And the lease is coming up, and he rang me Wednesday, went, where's the rent? Like every other landlord, the first question, where's the fucking rent? I was like, I don't have the rent. Do you know what I mean? We have for 5 weeks, I ain't got the money. But I was in a position where we're like going to look, I want to extend the lease. I'll take out another 2 or 3 year lease. We can spread the payments. But that's like that's hopeful that this thing will fuck off in the next 3 or 4 months. We're going to take out a lease if we're going to be we're not training for a year, do you know? We'll if this isn't gone in 2 or 3 months, you'll see our school closes the next one. Something else closes. This thing about to fuck off fairly lively for us all to survive, really, do you know? It was a really bad week for wrestling. It really, really was. So anything, even any glimmer of hope from next week on in a positive light, should be really welcome, you know?
Yeah. Do you want to hear a small glimmer of hope?
Sure.
It didn't even happen this week. I just wanted to talk about it. That John Cena versus The Fiend was probably my favorite match that's ever happened, and I just wanted to talk about it. And I think that they are doing no audience wrestling very well. That particular match.
That's
all I wanted to say.
That is the most Raven Creed match.
It is
John Cena versus The Fiend. I was watching it as if I was in a trance.
We're talking about the Firefly Funhouse match, right?
Yeah, the Firefly Funhouse. Like, John Cena is my favorite wrestler. I fucking love John Cena. And then obviously I fucking love
You gave all your memorabilia away. You gave all your John Cena stuff to leave for fucking
I did, so I could afford training. Literally, so I could afford training. I only have like one John Cena shirt left, and it was the first one I bought. And I literally gave all my merch away to train. It sucks. All like my biggest goal in life now is to buy back, like, I had the full set of John Cena gear. I had the full
look at all the old CCW. Buy the CCW on demand, right? And look at all the raffles and figure out
who got my shit.
And then try and buy your shit back.
Oh my god.
Or else put out a tweet. Put out a tweet's probably cheaper. Anyone who ever won John Cena merch in CCW, can we have it back? I give him Phoenix t-shirts.
I had a life-size like painted mural of John Cena basically that I bought for a tenner, granted, but I fucking gave it away to the raffle just so I could fucking train the next week, like, literally.
I took a picture of myself with that mural and I posted it on Instagram or something, and like one of the people, Moose, fucking liked it. Just like, oh my god, Moose. Anyway, yeah.
Anyway, that was the greatest match of all time, and if that's the only positive that we get out of this whole thing, then I don't know. I'm not going to say it's worth it, but like, I'm okay with it.
It's going to be very different. Like, I don't know. Wrestling's after getting a big shake-up. The world is, but like, we're all fucking involved in wrestling, so like, let's just. Yeah. I think in 6 to 9 months to 12 months, the landscape is going to be very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to be able to go back to the way it was.
No, but not straight away. WWE released so many wrestlers, and they have so many options now that they mightn't have had. Like, if AEW, New Japan, all very strong, and a lot of strong independents. Joe's licking his fucking lips. You guarantee that with all the options he has as well. Like, all going well, that he can run in the anniversary show in October. Like, you know what I mean? All the list of people he can book now that have been released in WWE. So there is positives in that too. Like, do you know what I mean? So let's see.
Is there any dream matches that either one of you have for like the people that are released to wrestle people on the indies?
As long as I can tag with Machine Gun Carl Anderson, then you know that's my dream match. I don't care who I wrestle against. You know, we got the same look. Do you know what I'm saying? You know? We'll even I'll put out a knowledge. We'll do a 6-man tag with. We'll get Gallows as well. So. You know.
Oh yeah, that's
somebody wants to book me in New Japan. Somebody wants to book me in New Japan with the lads. I'm okay with that.
Like I don't think anyone would want to see Debbie against Leo Rush or anyone like that.
No, I don't mean for like yourself. I mean like fucking.
Oh no, that's
versus like Young Bucks or something like that. Like yes, I want to wrestle Rusev without a doubt, but I don't think anybody else does that.
And you're there, it's Ravens Day, it's Rusev's Day, it's Ravens Day. Okay, it's Rusev's Day, smash.
Yeah, Rusev just like steps on me and I die. I'm okay with it.
I would absolutely love to see Heath Slater versus Be Cool at an OTT show.
Imagine it.
That is a fantastic call.
Imagine that match. Oh my god.
I don't know why I want that so much, but yes, that is a fucking.
I think we said last week I could watch Justin Be Cool wrestle all day, every day. I love it. Him and Orange Cassidy and in the stadium last year was fucking. And all it's doing at the moment anyway, it would be cool. It's genius, like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Heath Slater, yeah. A bit disappointed that the three man band is not going to get their reunion though, you know.
Yeah.
But actually, someone made a fantastic point about that. That Jinder Mahal went away, he got jacked, he came back, he became WWE champion. Drew McIntyre went away, got jacked, came back, became WWE champion. Heath Slater, all he needs to do is get a feck load of tattoos, grow a beard, and get jacked. Like.
What about 4-man band? Did you see the Hornswoggle winning the WWE championship? Because there was
Jesus.
There was 4 entries.
Yeah. Hornswoggle just come in with like biceps the size of his head or something like that. Just like overhead pressing John Cena or some shit. That'd be brilliant.
Do you see what I'm wearing?
That sounds like something that Vince McMahon would love.
Do you see what I'm wearing?
What? What a swell party it is.
You're coming up to nearly, well, by the time we get back doing shows anyway, you'll be here as the Emperor's champion.
I know.
That was a fast fucking year, wasn't it?
I know, yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Jesus Christ. A lot changes in the year. Like, fucking, who thought for 6 months we would be doing absolutely nothing? Only fucking talking shit in the podcast.
It's so hard to predict how it's going to go. Like, I think we all want this gone by, like, the summer, but I don't know.
Who knows? Like, obviously we cancelled the April show. The June, we were supposed to be in Dolan's Warehouse for a tag tournament in June. That's not happening.
Yeah.
So then we're left with our anniversary show, which is our 2-year anniversary show, at the end of July, which at the moment it's still on, but that's to be seen, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
like, we are still just in April, and like everyone can hope, like the like we were saying earlier, the whole lockdown or whatever it's called is supposed to be loosened a bit by like May the 5th.
Yeah.
But like again, I think that's just everyone taking a guess. So like it could be loosened by then. It could be stricter by then. We could be completely out of it by the end of May, or we could be fucked until the end of the year. Like, you know, we just We just have to play it by day. Like.
Well, if we do get to go in July, we are going to have the most overbooked show in the history of shows. I've had to move. Besides that, even before I book anybody else that I already had booked for the show, I booked all the flights from April to July because I lost them. So we have a lot of people that are going to be on. It's going 9-card match. It's going to be an afternoon/evening/night show. You know. Yeah. So buckle in, people, and bring lots of, you know. So
my whole thing right now is like, you know, I've been offered bookings in the UK in June, and like a part of me is like, I don't think regulations are going to loosen for me to fly in June, but also like I train at 2 schools, so I'm already down a school, and like Fly Factory is very much still up and running, and the landlord, you know, is being very generous, but that will also only happen for so long. And I don't like, I'm like over a month or more out of training, and if someone said that I had to wrestle next week, I'd be like, no, because there is nothing like in-ring shape, in-ring cardio, and I would not feel comfortable like doing a 10-15 minute match having not been in a wrestling ring for nearly like a month, 2 months, you know what I mean?
So what you're saying to me, Debbie, is book a load of 6-man tags.
Yes.
I get it, I like it. So we'll just have 8 6-man tag matches. I don't know.
I love it.
It's a lot of wrestling.
I tag with Debbie and just confuse the shit out of people.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, just start doing the Fierce Females tag team over here and just don't fucking explain it.
Yeah.
Who would like to I said the same thing to Raven last week, and who would you like within reason in Phoenix to defend that big white belt against?
Can we keep it on the independent? And when I say independent, like people that are not signed?
Yeah, well, it's within reason of when in budget, like, and all, like, you know, just
not getting Rhea Ripley, like.
Been there.
Oh yeah, fuck, you did. Sorry, I literally forgot. I was just thinking about like my favorite fucking wrestler, and now you fucking wrestler, bitch. No, I'm kidding.
Because I do like to know what people are. I know I'm kind of doing it publicly now, but fuck it. I would like to know what people would like to do, like, you know, because I will do a show as soon as we can. Now, I find we're probably not going to be able to fly in people like within 2 days' notice, but we'll do some part of an event, whether it'll be a lot of tag matches or just feel good shit. As we get the green light to go, we're going to go within 2 days.
Yeah, there's one person in particular that I definitely want an opportunity to wrestle, and that's Sky James, because I think when I started out, and I know when Raven started out as well, I think one thing that was missing is to have the opportunity to wrestle more experienced girls. And me and Raven ended up wrestling each other for so long, and I gained like so much knowledge from Raven, and I got so much better from wrestling Raven. But you also need to wrestle other people to get better as well. And I would love to bring Sky James down and, you know, give her an opportunity, you know.
Done. No flights involved or anything. Great.
Yeah, it's like there's millions and millions of people that I want to wrestle, but at the end of the day, when this kind of goes back to what we consider normal, you know, budgets will be cut, flights will be issued, like flights will be a problem, money will be a problem, and it'll go back to basics again. And I think focusing on building up the Irish scene is very important, you know.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I was talking to somebody about it last night. Actually, today, in fact, this evening, we were just fantasy booking a couple of cards, because he was saying, like, what are you going to do? And I was like, fuck it, we still have there's a fucking belt there that should have somebody having it by now. It should see? Can you see it? Like, we've had to rip up a couple of cards, had to cancel the tournament, and like, fuck, what are we going to do? And it was like, well, it was like, my advice to you is heavily promote locals and Irish for the first couple of shows to just build it up. And I was like, well, that's great, but I have all these flights booked that I just moved as well. So it's going to, no matter what way we look at it, we're going to have a big bang relaunch as such. Because we were kind of going through a transitional period anyway in Phoenix. And
Yeah.
now it's a transitional period in a fucking transitional period, which kind of complicates it a little bit more, but not really. Yeah. I'm sure when we get out of it, I'm sure we'll all be the better. And I hope we can all band together again, like Irish wrestling schools can and Irish wrestling promotions can, and all that kind of stuff, you know. So
yeah.
it's just a matter of getting the green light and fucking getting back in and doing the dirty bumps and rolling on the stale floors, because they're going to be like 6, 7 weeks, 2 weeks, 8 weeks before anyone's been in, you know. So
just give me like 2 weeks to get in shape.
Right. 2 days.
Are you looking forward to your first bump back? Actually, I don't know if I've asked you that. I just think that's my feel.
I think after the first one, I think I'd be really excited, and then I'll do it, and I'd be like, oh god. But then, like, once you drill something, it's just like muscle memory. It's like,
yeah. You've already done it so much that it's kind of like it'll just become like breathing after the second or third time that you've done it. Like, yeah.
This video podcast / videocast, whatever the fuck people call these things these days. So this is the final part that we're going to talk about. Okay, so Debbie Keitel, if you had to pick 8 wrestlers for and we don't have to get to an end as such, but 8 wrestlers for a brawl for all, proper brawl for all in Ireland, who would they be? And this is going to be interesting because we're going to ask everybody, and then at the end, like, I'd love to see, is there a pattern in names or whatnot? So boom, go.
Oh my god.
I know. I was going to write them down, but I can just watch it back, so I don't need them.
Like, I don't want it to have the same outcome as the brawl for all.
Oh yeah.
When I give you these names, I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Just have the entry list, and then we can discuss.
Okay, so I'd put Justy in there because that's hilarious. So Justy's in there.
I think he'd secretly be really good.
Huh?
I think he'd secretly be really good at like a brawl for all kind of style thing.
Yeah.
You didn't have him last week, so shut up.
All right, suck my dick then. Like.
Go on. Sorry, Debbie, for the interruption. Sorry.
Then I'd put Dom Tuck in.
Sorry. This is a brawl for all, right? We're not like.
Any reason in particular you'd put Dom Tuck in, or?
I just think that'd be hilarious. Because I genuinely think that Dom surprises me every single day, every single week, every single month. And I genuinely think that Dom would pull it out of the bag. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think Dom would beat Justy? Do you think Dom would beat Justy? Because that looks like the first round.
Like, that's the first round. No, Justy pumped the head off.
I had already Justy written down as going through, just in case. Look, Justy's written there. I love you, Dom Talk, but like Justy pumped that up. He's got that builder.
I put Troy Mendes in there.
He's fucking jacked enough, actually. Troy.
Jacked, yeah. Who would I put in then? Vic Viper. Put him in there.
Oh, Vic versus Troy.
Interesting.
Wow, Vic became relevant again.
Fucking hell.
Sorry, Vic. I fucking love Vic. And he knows it too. He'd take the piss out of me just as quick. So Vic versus Troy Mendes, who wins that?
Troy wins that.
Oh, I disagree with you, but it's your card. It's your card. I think the old dog for the long road in that one, but you know, we'll put Troy through. It's your card.
Okay.
I would have put you through, Vic, but no, I'm not booking it. Okay, next one.
I'm gonna put Phil Boyd in.
Great pick.
Raven had Phil right last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying great pick.
Who else? Who would I put against?
You also have to think who would be like a good match against Phil Boyd.
Yeah, not just like who would Phil Boyd kill? Yeah, because that's what my mind is on.
Or who would Phil Boyd like to kill?
Yeah.
Because we got an opportunity, Phil. We'll book it. Fuck it. We'll book it. No.
Oh.
Actually, not. You could actually, but that could be Vic. You could book Vic versus Troy and Justy and Dan Tuck on the same show. No bother.
Yeah.
Like fuck it, like we'll do it.
I would put Phil against Nathan Martin.
Okay. In a brawl for all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who
Boy, what do you think would be the outcome of this?
Oh, Phil would kill him, but like,
Yes.
like Nathan wouldn't stop. Like Nathan would allow himself to be killed. Do you know what I mean? Like he can't stop, won't stop. You know.
That's nice.
So,
All right. Brilliant. There was an exclamation mark there. Phil's murdered somebody in the semi.
just want to point out that I don't want this to happen, but you're making me do this.
It's your card. I'm not booking. I'm just writing it down. I'm just facilitating.
It's going to come out that like Debbie Keitel actually hates Nathan Martin to the point where she wants him to be murdered.
No.
That's cancelled. Fucking a hashtag.
Wrestling rumors happen. You know, they just happen. You know.
And I would put in
last two in the whole country.
Michael May.
Before you put your last person in, I'd just like to point out you haven't put anybody from Cork in there.
Oh.
You know, just pointing that out.
To be fair, I had one person from Cork in it.
So
that
was me. That's the one person I would have put in Cork as well. But it's just interesting. Maybe Debbie might put him in.
I don't want to be against Michael May. Fuck that.
Not you. Oh Jesus, I'm not talking about you.
You
want to be against Michael May? He'd fucking kill you with your crippled ass. Like.
Oh, he wasn't even in the fucking conversation. Would you stop?
Oh.
You'll put Butch against Michael May.
Okay, fair point.
Because Butch is hardy. You know, he's given.
Hardy. The answer we were but you put Marion in last week, Raven.
Did I?
You did, yeah. Would you like?
I drank a lot last week. I'm sorry.
Would you like a puck off him? His temper.
Marion has a class clothesline, but a shite hip. Very bad hip.
Knee and hip, yeah.
The knee. The answer we're looking for is knee. I have the bad hip.
Oh, you have the bad hip.
Yeah, I have the bad hip. But he says
we all have bad hips, I think.
Kind of, yeah.
Everyone in fucking wrestling.
I think you name a body part at this stage, and mine's fucked. But who are you putting through, Michael May or Butch?
I think Butch would thump the head off Michael May, but I think Michael May would get one in at the end. So I'm putting Michael May over.
Oh.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. To be fair, I think she has a point there.
I'm not disputing. I'm actually loving the analysis. You know, there's a real train of thought there. Because Butch would fuck. He's big. He's big.
Oh, he's a big lad.
Michael will get the one sneaky dog in right at the end.
Yeah.
And fucking Butch, look, he has the glass chin. We all know that. He's from Waterford. He got the glass chin. Armstrong country. I'm apologising. He's from Armstrong country. So the semi-finals, Debbie, are Justy versus Tremendous and Phil versus Michael May.
Oh my God.
Ooh.
So I have legit seen Phil and Michael shoot fight, and neither of them will tap. So I think that just ends so bad for both of them, and nobody goes through.
So Justy wins by default or something.
Yeah, like Justy will win somehow. Like,
yeah.
Well, if that's a draw, then the final becomes Tremendous versus Justy.
Yeah, like I think Troy would exhaust himself. I think he'd go all in the first round, and I think Justy would reserve himself, and then Justy is
very reserved. He is very reserved.
Yeah.
Just to be fair. Yes, you're right.
I think he's great for a second wind, and then out of nowhere he'd just go into like Justy rage, and he'd just kill him.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Plus, like Mead in Cork, so there you go. So we're all we're all back in Justy here in Brawl for All. See that? There was no Bruiser, there was no Joe, there was no Alexander Dean. Justy won. Who won last week? Actually, Emma booked herself.
I think I won last week.
Yeah, no, she booked herself to win last week. So going through so far in the Thursday Brawl for All, week 1, the pilot that we can't air. 3.5 hours into it, we were too drunk. Emma won, or Raven won. Sorry, Raven won. And then the second one, Debbie Keitel booking it. It's Justy. You know, so we'll have to maybe come back at the end and figure out who's everybody's winner, and then have another competition. And by that time, hopefully the fucking virus will have fucked off, and we'll actually.
And we'll actually have to book a brawl for all.
Yes, let's do it. Just imagine backstage. Okay, lads, we're having a brawl for all tonight. Just your first, Dom. Can I have a word with you? Debbie wants you to fight Justy. Look, there you go. This has been an absolute pleasure. It really has. It really has. Thanks a million, Debbie, for joining us this evening.
No problem at all.
It's been a stellar pleasure already. I'm obviously after a couple of cans. But Thirsty Thursday, that's what you get. Yeah, there's plenty of other podcasts out there, but this one I end up with a hangover, so I don't care. So listen, thanks a million. I hope to see you in person fucking a lot sooner, hopefully, than we think, right? So as soon as we can, we'll have the Empress Champ back down with us, and I really, really can't wait to see you. As for you, Raven, I'll see you tomorrow night because we're recording another one.
Oh shit, yeah. Yay, more social interaction. Huh?
Who's your next guest?
Owen Richards.
Be prepared to own your destiny.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. If he thinks he's getting away with Kay for him.
It's just going to be a seminar.
He's talking to the two wrong people.
Yeah. Literally.
Anyway, all jokes aside, listen, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and I hope to see you again really soon, okay?
Thank you so much, guys. Hope to see you soon.
No problem. I've been Billy Bedlam.
I've been Raven Creed.
I'm Debbie.
And William wants to say goodbye.
Oh my God, haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, sure, look at him. He hasn't aged a fucking day, has he? My fucking fault, the bruiser kidnapped you. Fuck off. All right.